Buongiorno! Pizza! Viva Italia! Welcome back to Cooking with Jan. As you can see, I'm practicing how to throw pizza dough into the air with a plastic cake bottom. I probably will never be able to master that skill. In Chicago, where I'm from, we do a deep dish variation. It's like a quiche, but the purists would say that the real pizza comes from Naples. It was invented there in 1889. When both the King and Queen of Italy, on a visit to Naples, were sick and tired of the French cuisine and asked for an Italian pizza. The Neapolitan pizza that was served to the King and Queen of Italy at the time comprised basic ingredients: your pizza dough, your tomatoes or tomato passata, mozzarella, and basil, fresh basil, which I have here. For the Neapolitan pizza dough, you have 500 grams of strong flour, or in Germany, we call it type 550 flour. Mixed in with the strong flour is a little bit of salt. You also need 325 milliliters of either cold water, or in this case I have room temperature, and then in a bowl I have 7 grams of dried yeast. You can also use fresh yeast. In that case you would use 10 grams. Very important, please do not mix in the yeast with the salt, because the yeast does not like salt. It likes the water, which we'll see just in a second here when I pour it in there. Okay, now my yeast has almost completely dissolved. Actually, I put too much water in with the yeast, but it doesn't really matter because everything will be combined soon. You should just put a little bit of water in, and actually most of the water here it mixed in with your flour and your salt. Here, you just would take a spatula just for the beginning, because actually when everything is combined, we're going to use a proper mixer. So here we go. So I have been kneading this dough for about 6 minutes, and it's to the consistency that I want. As you can see, it's no longer sticking. Let's take it out. And we'll put it here on a surface. And as you can see, it's a beautiful, beautiful smooth dough. It's exactly what we want. You can see that, the consistency. But like I said, it's still a little bit sticky, and so I'll have to work with it later. But anyway, it's now more or less kneaded the way I want it to. If you were to knead with hand, you'd be doing this for the last 10 minutes as I'm doing now. And then before I put it back into the bowl, because the yeast has to rise, I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil into the bowl. Let's just put in there, grease your bowl a little bit, your hands. So we'll let that dough now sit at room temperature for about 30 minutes. Welcome back. As you can see, our dough has risen. It's about, I'd say 3 times the size it was. I'm going to take it out, and as you can see, because I greased the bottom, it has absorbed some of the olive oil, and it is very, very elastic. Very elastic. For your workspace, you spread a little bit of the flour that you're using for the dough. In this case, it's 550. You can also put a little bit here on top of your dough. So you have your basic dough. Now you can have several options depending upon how many pieces you want to make. You can divide the dough in half, and then you would have 2 big pizzas. In my case, I'm going to make 3 medium-sized pizzas. And since I have 800 grams total dough, that would be about, if my math is correct, about 260 grams each. 280, 270, 270, that's fine. I'm going to put these on a baking sheet and have them rise again for another 30 minutes. I will now attempt, and this is the problem, this is where the skilled pizza bakers in Italy, they can form the dough and throw it in the air and make a wonderful circle with the pizza dough. But I unfortunately cannot. So I have to improvise. So I will show you how I will do this. And what I do is I first press it and then I punch it, as it were. And of course, don't get very far. Some then take the dough and they stretch it like this. However, I will not mess with that. And I'll have to cheat and just take a roller, which is taboo. The Italians would all scream if they saw me do this because it's not the right way to do so. But we're gonna do it anyway because I don't have any time or patience to play with it. And plus I'm not skilled. We're gonna make 2 medium pizzas. Just take this over. See. Okay, Anke has helped me get my pizza dough into the right shape that I want. I'm just going to put it here because we're going to bake them later. And what you can do is you can do with your fingers here, you can adjust. And then you can also create a small lip. Now, what you do is you start with your passata. For the passata, I would recommend that you take canned tomatoes, you put them in a blender with some salt, some pepper, a little bit of oregano, a pinch of garlic powder, and a pinch of onion powder as well is in there, and also just a little bit of sugar. Let me just taste that just to make sure. Yes. You take a spoonful of passata, like so, you put it in the middle, and you just spread it around. Make sure that you don't put too much on the Neapolitan pizza. Just drizzle just a little bit of olive oil in. Not much, that's it. We're not going to put any salt in there because the passata has plenty of salt. The next important step is you add a little bit of parmesan cheese, which is together with the mozzarella, which we'll add in a second, kind of a secret. So you add it there, not too much because it's already very salty. Then comes your mozzarella, which is here. As you can see, I've just pulled it apart. And we just add this then to the pizza. Like so. Okay, now this is your basic Neapolitan pizza minus the beautiful basil leaves that we have here. It's all you need for the basic recipe. You then have to kind of consider which ingredients you want to bake for a long time. Now, we're going to add, it gives a beautiful color, these strips of red paprika, and they can bake from the get-go, like so, because they take a long time, just to be prepared. Also, you can add, if you wish, mushrooms. Actually, it's too many, so we'll just do -1 or 2 in this case. Put your mushrooms here as well, because they also take a long time to be done. Your salami can go on your pizza. All of these ingredients can be added right at the beginning. But, and I'll show you this later, right before you take the pizza out, that is, it's done, it's baked, we're going to add our basil leaves. Not before, because the basil leaves has to still be a little bit fresh. That'll be the same thing for the ham that I add for our next pizza. Okay, we've come to the last step, baking your pizza. Make sure that you have your oven fired up to 220 degrees centigrade. So into the oven it goes. Yes, perfect. Exactly, see? I want to take it out where the mozzarella cheese is just a little bit brown. And we will close our oven. Put on our basil leaves and just go in there just for another minute or 2. Okay, in the oven for the last minute or 2. Take it out. Look at that beauty. We thank you so much for accompanying us on this journey. And if you like what you saw, I'd be delighted if you give me a like, thumbs up, and also that you subscribed to my channel. And with that, Viva Italia, prego, and happy cooking!